thanks to Hollywood, this country refuses to face what happened to Indian people.
The media, Hollywood, and the government work really hard and have been working really hard for a lot of years to erase Native people. And that's happened to a lot of cultures throughout history. And when a people become invisible, people stop standing up for them. When you take someone's culture and language and who they are as a community member, as a grandfather, as a daughter, a son, a child, when you take that all away, you're leaving people with a sense of emptiness that can't be replaced.
In our history, in regards to the history of cinema, Native people have often been stereotyped as bloodthirsty savages. It was always stereotypical to see people being invaded by Native people.
Westerns weren't really about the Native perspective. They were about entertaining people who they want to see the cowboys win. They want to see, America, fought for America, when that wasn't even really the case. It was expansion and wiping out Native culture. F-Troop, that's what it was called. That Nick at Night, when we first got cable in my area, I was like, oh, Natives on TV, and it was so ridiculous. And I didn't even realize that a lot of them weren't actually Native, that a lot of people used shoe polish to darken their skin. Because ain't that white kid from that other show on Nick at Night? How come he's all dark now with long hair and talking stupid? And I slowly realized these are just all people impersonating Native people.
Wall dance very much like a rain dance, only drier. You run around fire, you jump up and down, and look savage. That ain't no war dance!
Growing up, there was there was no representation, even in cartoons. The only representation was on the Dudley Do-Right show or whatever, Go Go Gophers. And there was two Native characters, one who was very intelligent and outwitted the military a lot, and the other one who spoke gibberish.
There was kids shows where they had these Native Americans that are dark and they're wearing loincloths, and then they had feathers. It was in a lot of kids shows that my nephew was watching on Nickelodeon, and I was confused, they're portraying Native Americans as this kid that's dark and wearing leather as clothing.
There's no accurate representation of the whole gradient that Native people are.
Everything about us was in the past. There was never anything current. There was never anything that I could look at and identify that, oh, I look like that person, or that person, grew up how I grew up. It was very, 80 to 100 years ago.
The Native community as a whole, when approached by mass media, tends to be looked at through before colonization lens, and so it's not really viable to who we are now.
Definitely, Native women have historically been portrayed in the media not so well. Just for example, the way that Native people in general were portrayed in old Westerns. We've always been depicted as either not really strong people or people that are easily conquered.
Even Land O'Lakes butter had the Native maiden on there with the too short dress and showing her knees, which was really culturally inappropriate. So that was even just somebody else's romanticized or perverted image of of what Native women looked like.
Or even caricatures that have been created over time, such as Pocahontas, the cartoon character.
So we never had really any, that I can recall, any healthy images in the media for Native Americans.
And we can relate it to so many different issues that are taking place in today's society, especially in regards to missing and murdered Indigenous women. There's a direct correlation in regards to how Native women have been portrayed in mass media, and how people treat Native women as well.
But the thing about our society is it's become more of a spectator society and not more of an active take over the wheel kind of society. And that leaves room for people to walk over past agreements. It leaves room for people to commit further atrocities towards Native people. And people are just like, oh no, it's such a horrible thing. But then, you know, they just scroll on like, this erased.
I definitely think if they see a Native perspective on an issue, that you can be more sympathetic to the reasons why things are the way they are, or learning about the history and learning about how Native people current issues are affected by past history.
I really appreciate what we see now, where there's more Native Americans going into the film industry and telling the story from their perspective, and telling a modern story and telling a relatable story about their family or their community that we can identify with, as opposed to somebody else from the outside telling their version of what they see.
Chances are you've heard about the controversy over a new sculpture at the Walker Art Center.
Yeah, the piece is called Scaffold. It's the work of a California artist named Sam Durant.
We're talking about a structure that people are going to be climbing and playing on. And this is a replica of that symbolizes one of the greatest traumas that happened to our people.
Like, it didn't seem true at first, and then when I actually seen it at the Walker, I was hurt but confused at the same time. Like, they allowed this, and that's just like dancing on somebody's grave.
It's important, if you're going to tell our story, to include us. I don't think they thought about the historical trauma that a lot of Native people are still living with, from being from the descendants of those families.
Like, cause you got to think about how many people allowed that to go through. Like the ark, whoever built it, like, what were you thinking? Like, well, that's not okay. And then the Walker allowed it. And then when everybody started noticing it, that's when the Walker decided that they wanted to take it down and they were going to be on the Native American side.
They never even thought to ask us what our opinion was. We're not Indians crawling out of a teepee. We're your neighbors, we're your doctor, we're your nurse, we're the police officer, we're the media makers. So I work for McGizzy Communications, which was founded in 1974. And we're a nonprofits organization that works with Native youth. So I work with First Person Productions, which is a social enterprise of McGizzy Communications. We take on high school interns, and they work on video and digital media projects for small businesses and nonprofits. I think Native youth benefit from First Person Productions in a variety of ways. First up is work experience, building those job readiness skills. I think the second part is bringing our natural storytelling abilities, which were how Native Americans passed down their lessons and languages, culture for generations, and allow them to bring it to a digital format.
Very important for Native youth to see themselves in any form of media, because it gives importance to your existence. If you see yourself often on a daily basis, succeeding especially, stories that are uplifting about your people, stories that tell you more about who you are and where you came from, then it's very empowering.
And so I think it's important for us to have that unique perspective and be able to present that to the world, because that's how we're going to educate people on who we are and where we are as a people.